In our private variables object, I need something called tile exponent, which is going to tell me how big the tile size is in terms of powers of 2. And we'll start off with something like, okay, well, let's see. 0, 2 to the power 0, 1, and then if we have 1, this is going to be, actually, okay. 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128. Okay, 64. I like 64. So 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64. Okay, so we'll say the tile exponent of 6. And we record it as a tile exponent to make it like impossible to make the viewport something that is not a power of 2. It's just impossible because we're not even, because of the way we're storing the data. Let's take a look at Google really quick, see if we can get a calculator up here. So 2 to the power of 6, right? To the power of 6. So 64, as I expected. I just wanted to make sure there. And here, we can do 2 to the power of 0, which should be 1, just to show you. So a 1 by 1 viewport, not very useful. 2 to the power 1. 2 by 2 viewport, probably not very useful, right? And so 6, or maybe, you know, 32 might be good. So 2 to the power 5, 32. But a 64 by 64 viewport, I think, is a good, you know, starting value to test things out with. Well, let's go back to our screen. So, yeah, tile exponent slash viewport size. Okay, just making a note of what that tile exponent keeps track of. Okay. And then I guess what we're going to do is just have a tx for tile x, and that's where the viewport is going to be snapped in tile x coordinates, and then a ty for where the viewport is going to be snapped in tile y coordinates. What else? So, nope, that's enough to keep track of where the viewport should be. So, tile x coordinate of VP1 position, right? And then this is the same thing, but it's the tile y coordinate. And now when I double click these, notice that because these strings are unique, right, I don't get both of them highlighted at the same time. So sometimes when I write a comment like this, I'll put something like that. So now both of these can highlight, and this is tile x, this is tile y. You might wonder why I like put underscores on my comments, and it's just so that I can double click that comment and like blast it away. It's also so if I have identical comments in the code somewhere, I can just highlight them and also see them, right? Because sometimes you're going to have sections of code in different places that do exactly the same thing for whatever reason, and so maybe you're going to have a descriptive comment that's, you know, exactly the same. The idea is just to make it as easy to see the similarities and differences in your code and see all those connections as easily as possible. Okay, so we got our tile x, tile y, and then the tile exponent. And that's going to keep track of where the viewport should be. Now we know that as we've implemented our viewport, right, we implement it as a rectangle with upper and lower bounds, right? So up here is x0, y0, and then down here is y1 and x1, or x1, y1. So we have to eventually take these tile coordinates, and we got to convert them into those actual native implementation rectangle coordinates that we've been using. But this object we want this object to kind of abstract how the viewport operates and make it operate as if it were like a tile that snaps to different areas of the world map. And then later, if we want, we could possibly make tile X and tile Y. Like if we wanted to add a little bit of extra flair, we could possibly use fractional values for tile X and tile Y to get some smooth transitions between where we snap to when we're snapping the camera onto these tile coordinates. But we're not going to worry about that right now. Okay, so snap move up, down, left, and right is going to change these TX, TY, and yeah, just the TX and TY. So if we're moving up, then the TX, or the TY, is going to be subtracted. So TY minus minus. God, that looks a little bit weird. Minus equals 1. Okay. And you know what? I'm gonna. It's just because since I have this here, it makes this look a little bit hard to read for me. Because this, for some reason, makes me a little bit confused about this. Probably just weird. So let's do the whole keep it simple thing. So minus t, instead of using a minus minus, we're just going to do minus 1, right? Because the x and y axes, sorry, not the x and y, but the y axis, right, the top is 0. So to go up, we go negative. And then down, we go positive. So we move one tile down. So we're going to move the camera viewport, or viewport 1, down 1 tile. And then x, to move left, we're going to move negative on the x. And then to move right, we're going to move, oh god, you can't see any of that. Okay, sorry. Oh, well, you can, but just not on the monitor where it's all zoomed in nicely. Let's zoom in here. So, right, ty, tx. So up and down, we're going to move on the y. Left and right, we will move on the x. If we're going to move up, then ty needs to be decremented. If we're going to move down, ty needs to be incremented. If we move left, then the tx needs to be decremented. If we move right, then the tx needs to be incremented. Okay, with that there, and then we have our update graphics, tile exponent. So that's a pretty good thing to start with. So we're not going to get any visual feedback yet, but we wanna get to wiring creating an instance and wiring this in. So as per usual, on top of here, I'm going to create a function called new viewport 1 snapper. New viewport 1 snapper, and then I'm gonna figure out what was the name I wanted to use for this, and I believe it was VP1 SNA for viewport snapper, viewport 1 snapper. That's a pretty weird name, but I'm just gonna stick with it, right? I'm gonna because I was thinking the amount of time I've been thinking about what to call this instance. I don't know if I want to tell you how long I was thinking about that, but I could not come up with any decent shorthand names, and trust me, it's weird. This is a weird name, but I took a lot of thought into what I wanted it to be. So let's just do object.seal on VP1, and I don't know if that's going to be any good or help us, but let's it's better safe than sorry. VP1, yeah. So now, oh well, that would be a big problem. that's recursive, and we would blow our stack if we did that. Oops. Okay, so this is our function that's going to make a new instance using the new keyword, and it's going to construct one of these classes, viewport1snapper, which whenever I refer to the instance of viewport1snapper, I'm going to use this variable no matter where it is in the code. And that looks about right. Now let's take some time. So where does this belong in our code? Well, this is something that has both data, right, just plain old variables, and then it also has functions. So data and functions, I would consider that an object. In terms of is it data, is it functions, or is it an object? Is it a hybrid of both? And the answer definitely is this is a hybrid of both. So now we know where we want that where we want the singleton to be, right? We want it to be in our global objects, because this is a hybrid of both. So global objects, and the global object attach canvas down. Okay, yeah, so we can just put it here. So VP1 and then snapper, and then new viewport1 snapper. Let's make sure everything's still... I keep on wanting to say compiling, but this is an interpreted language. So let's make sure everything is still interpreting. That's a very obtuse sentence. Even though compiling isn't correct, I think, you know, the intention of what I'm saying is a little bit more understandable when I say that. Okay, so something's going on here. Oh, so I feel like I've broken something, because the console is not giving me any input anymore when I click. But I still have... Hold on. So I'm going to F12, make sure this is the correct developer tools. Yeah, no, that's correct. Yet I'm not... What the hell? So, whenever you do something kind of unusual in Windows, chances that Windows properly supports anything but the default configuration, I've noticed is... So I have my toolbar kind of thing like up here, docked at the very top, and it just creates weird problems for me sometimes. Okay. So what is going on here? Why am I not getting my events? What did I break? That's kind of why I didn't, did I take out those, maybe I didn't break it and I just commented that out. Let's take a look at that. Nope, because here's the click handlers, user input adapter, singleton, whatever. Yeah, I'm kind of stumped here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to comment out the new object I've created, assuming that's what's causing the problems. But I have no clue, though. But let's just try to take a step back and... So this is kind of annoying because I have no feedback, right? So I can't... Like, it would be better right now to get an error message than to just click on this and just not get anything, because now that just makes it really hard to figure out what I screwed up. Okay, let's just start first we're gonna go into our sources and let's look at the init global object and see if what the hell? So I'm seeing in my debugger init global object, and I don't see that code anywhere. Oh, what the hell? What the fucking... How? Did I... Okay, so somehow I like accidentally pressed the back button, and right, these projects, I was looking at the wrong project. Yeah, I'm gonna take a wild guess and say that I like left clicked or something and or backspaced, because like for whatever reason browsers like support weird keys that go back on you and fuck up your shit. So okay, open this in a just what the fucking hell. Probably shouldn't have had that open. Well, we'll see if anyone sees that. Okay. So basically I want... What the fuck? Seriously? So I guess that... Okay, open up a new tab, right? Okay, nope, the back button doesn't work. Okay, I'm gonna paste something in here. Okay. Okay, new tab, I guess that's... But what the hell did I... I don't know. Okay, maybe I'll have to go over that, but well, I'm never going to find it. But it kind of seemed like I made a new tab, I put a new URL in it, and then it like stored the previous page anyways. The idea is I'm just trying to get a new tab here to where it's a new tab so I can't like accidentally go back. Okay, well, going back this far isn't as bad as like going back to the other page that looks exactly the same. Okay, so we fixed that. That was not cool. Okay, so let's take a look at the console. Clickety click. And if we do, okay, and then we got that global event. And I'm not sure what that was about. Object. Refresh. Keys. Okay, so this looks like it's working. I didn't break anything, so let's keep on going. And the next part, we gotta wire it up. So we have the viewport snapper instance and our global objects. So the viewport snapper is here, and we need it to read events, and we need to put that in a place that kind of like logically makes sense, right? So that's not good. What did I change? Oh, got it. Okay, so I'm going to make a note here. We want viewport1 snapper dot read event. So it's going to be like vp1 sna dot read event. And we need to put that somewhere, and it's going to be it's going to read the global event. And we have a input adapter that we wrote earlier. So user input adapter singleton, and it has a native click handler, and it also has a native keyboard event handler. And right now we just have some simple code just to give us some feedback, which we could, right now we could probably comment that out. Well, let's not comment it out right now, but let's put in here, we're going to go global objects. So the global object container .vp1 snapper dot read event, and then global event, right? So if the keyboard event handler is triggered, it's going to fill that global event with the key that was, oh, I totally lied. We don't need to remove this at all, because that's setting what, because that's filtering my key values. So I'm just gonna do this. Make a little comment. Store keyboard key that was pressed. So I'm just making a little comment and grouping this all together so that when I quickly glance at it, I'm not going to be like, oh, that's throwaway code. Because when I glanced at it, I thought it was throwaway code that was just echoing what key was pressed, just to be helpful and give some feedback, but that's not at all what this is. This is, alright, so we're going to read event, we're going to read that global event, and it should be populated with one of the keys that was pressed. And if it's one of the arrow key codes, then we're going to do something about it. So let's go back to the read event function. And right, we got our snap move functions, and then they do stuff over here. So right now, I would say for some feedback, for some useful feedback, and we can remove this later, I'll just do a console.log and put the name of the function. Snap move up, snap move down, and then left, and then right. Okay, so if everything is wired up correctly when we press those arrow keys, we're going to get some feedback. I got to stop recording and start recording again because my timer did go off.